Well, we know this is the trial where there's always some drama. So today, media was kicked out of the Slindelo Masikane trial. Yes, this is the second time it's happened. But today's event relates to a news camera capturing an image of protected witness Tumelo Madlala. eNCA Slindelo Masikane was in court until she was thrown out with the rest of the media, and she joins me now. Slee, if I'm not mistaken, the first time media was chucked out, I mean, honestly, it's because you were all running after Tumelo Madlala and he was feeling a bit hounded. This time, of course, has nothing to do with you or eNCA. I'm very happy to know that news. What went wrong with this camera capturing an image of Tumelo on the stand? What did the judge do, and are you back in court yet?
Yeah, so it seems to be just an error that happened, a technical error really. So what the public, I think, doesn't understand or know is that there's an agreement between the court and TV media in particular that one of the broadcasters will provide what we call pool feed. So in this particular instance, the public broadcaster is providing visuals not only for themselves but for eNCA as well as newsroom. So the visuals that they see coming to them live from court are coming from cameras that are being operated by the public broadcaster as per an agreement between the court and the TV media. So when we went into an adjournment around tea time, it seems that one of the cameras that was following the judge as he was making his way to the chambers accidentally captured Madlala standing up from the witness box, and that is the image that was circulated. So there are images coming, people have screen grabs, should I say, of our logo, Newsroom Africa's logo, SABC's logo. So it does look as though, of course, his image was distributed widely. But what I think the court is forgetting is that the agreement is that we only have a certain number of cameras providing feed for several media houses. And so there were discussions that have been taking place, and I think we are very much close to a resolution. I can say that we will be resuming with cameras inside tomorrow, but there will be a meeting with attorneys as well as media houses around the way forward, because I think we are really bordering on some constitutional rights that are being infringed upon, because as media, we're not there for ourselves, we're there for the public interest. We're there to supply these court proceedings to people who cannot come to court. And I think what happened today certainly borders on an infringement on media freedom. So I think what we've been raising with the state as well as the court is that these proceedings as well are happening in open court, Sally. So anyone can walk in at any time, sit down, take a picture, leave, circulate it, and then news media will then be blamed for this. So I think there needs to be some kind of measures perhaps put in place to ensure that moving forward, maybe the courthouse does know which media houses are in there, and how they're going to control access into the courthouse, I think is at this point still remains to be seen.
All right, so there's a meeting tomorrow. Hopefully thereafter you'll be let back in. From what you've told me, it sounds like it was an honest mistake, albeit a careless and very constitutionally dangerous one indeed. But let's deal with what happened in court. Tumelo Madlala, who of course is the first person who was in the house, the group of friends in the house that night, he's the first of them to appear on the witness stand. We don't know who else will be called, but he was being cross-examined by witness number 5's advocate, Tumelo. She's really been working hard to undermine his character. Tell us a little bit more about what was said today.
She's really driving on the point around the Netflix documentary, Sally, and the money that was received by Tumelo Madlala. We know now that he was paid in cash. He still won't reveal how much, but the line of questioning when resumed this morning was around the fact that if he and Senzo were so close, why is it that he did not share these proceeds with the Meyiwa family, or even his wife and his children, you know? In the concept of of Ubuntu, which is something that came from Judge Tumelo, was the fact that if Senzo was your best friend, and as an African, surely after his death, you must feel some kind of obligation to take care of his children, because his children should be like your own. So that was just some of the, character questions around who Tumelo Madlala is. Mshololo actually saying it seems Senzo Meyiwa ceased to be his friend after he died. Let's take a listen.
You ceased to be a friend to the deceased immediately after he was shot. You were a friend when he was still alive.
Ukuthi uyekile kuba umngane wakhe umufi ngesikhathi aqeda ukudutshulwa lo umngane wakhe othembekile ngesikhathi esaphila uPaula uthini ngalokho
lokho kwamanga lokho bengithi mhlambe njobe kachaza ekuqaleni ukuthi uyabuza ngiyaphendula if akusho indlela abona ngayo yini mina ngikhuluma ngakona lokho akushoyo.
That is a lie. Actually, the way you are putting it, I thought that it's a question, maybe I will answer it, but the way you are putting it, that's your own speculation.
But is Senzo's child not your child as an African?
Ingane kaSenzo akusingane yakho masibheka indlela yethu yesAfrika.
Iyafana nayo nengane yami.
Yes, it's the same as my child.
Yes. And yesterday you told us that you have a number of children that you support. Would Senzo's child not fall among those for whom you are responsible?
Ngizolo utshele enkantolo ukuthi unezingane engezakho zondlabo yena lo mntwana kaSenzo ke akaweli phakathi kwazo ezinye izingane zakho ukuthi unayo kanjalo umnakekela umondla.
Yebo kunjalo.
That's correct.
I think what's also really interesting and important to touch on is that Tumelo Madlala earlier in the trial pointed to suspect number 2 and said he was in the house on the night that Senzo was killed. Advocate Mshololo, of course, is representing witness number 5, Fizo Kuhle Ntuli. She made a point of checking, though, with Madlala on whether he saw her suspect in the house. Talk to me about that.
Yes, this was an issue that's been canvassed yesterday as well as today with regards to the details about what happened when these alleged intruders came in. Now, like you've said, Tumelo Madlala has pointed to Bongani Ndanzi, accused number 2, as the second intruder who came into the house, who was pinned against the wall by Senzo Meyiwa. However, at some point, it seemed that his story wasn't really coming together, because Advocate Mshololo said, okay, so if you were able to identify and describe accused number 1 who had a gun, why is it that you, before the doc identification, could not describe either of the intruders? In fact, she's put it to him today that there were never any intruders, which is, of course, the theory of docket 375, that the ones who were in the house, Senzo Meyiwa was shot by somebody who was in the house. She actually also asked Tumelo Madlala whether he can actually tell the court by a matter of fact that he saw who shot Senzo, and he says he cannot actually tell the court who shot Senzo, because at some point he had actually ran into one of the bedrooms and only came out when he could hear that the commotion had seemingly died down. So, the defense really trying to poke a lot of holes in Tumelo Madlala's story, also questioning the level of sobriety, saying how can the court actually trust or believe anything you're saying, because what we do know for a fact is that you guys were drinking, but we just don't know how much, because evidence was removed from the crime scene in terms of cans of alcohol being removed.
All things that cannot be disputed. Thank you so much, Slindelo Masikane, coming to us from the North Gauteng High Court.